Hello and welcome to Enchantment of Eternity's live discussion on The Expanse finale, the Season 5 finale, Season 5, Episode 10. Nemesis Games and The Expanse, as always, keeps with the tradition of season finales are always named after the book that is adapted from. I was watching another live screen, they were like, oh, did they skip one? I think they skipped 1 year. No, they didn't skip a year. They do it every year. The season finale of each season is named after the book that it's adapted from. So anyway, I am joined here by two special guests who hopefully will not stroke out during this live stream. First joining me is, as always, Darrin from D's Reviews. Thanks so much for joining once again.
Oh, Mark, so excited to be back here, probably for the full review this week. But yeah, God, what an ender. I don't want to get into too much of it. I'm going to toss it down to this guy right below me. What's up, Don? That's Don Willi.
In nomen Patri et Filii et Spiritus Sancti, Amen. The Belters will not be forgiven for their sins, though, and Martians will not be given absolution, you treacherous badge. Marco. I hated hearing your name chanted at the end.
Hey, my last name's not in ours. They did chant his full name. But anyway, don't talk shit about Mars. I'm representing Mars today. My MCRN shirt. Anyway. Traitors! Well, they're not Martians. They're not true Martians. No true Scotsman. Anyway, let's go ahead and jump into this finale. Now, we already sort of gave some feelings on it, but I think this is a damn good finale. I thought this was amazing. I absolutely loved this episode. I thought it was one of the best finales, maybe one of the best episodes of The Expanse. Don, what did you think of this episode?
Top 3 episodes of The Expanse for me. You know, I just got finished watching it again right before we came on, and I was like, man, this was everything. You know, it was shocking, it was heartbreaking, it was breathtaking, it was cathartic. You know, and obviously we have a lot to discuss here. So before I empty the clip and there's no more in the chamber, you know, I'll turn it over to this guy over here and give his thoughts.
Yeah, a brilliant episode. I mean, a great big opener. They set the stage very well for what we were going to see. They did not disappoint, into which we will get into, one of the most edge of your seat lost in space shots ever put to film. Screw you, gravity. That was awesome. The only downside on this episode, I would say, is the kind of like slam on the brakes right in the middle of the episode. After all that, before we get to our big finale, I understand it's a season finale. There's story you've got to wrap up. You've got to set stage. On a second viewing, it actually goes much faster than when I first watched it. But it is one of those moments where I'm like, God, I really feel like the momentum gets robbed out of this, and then it flies back into it. So again, tiny nitpick into something that was paid off what we wanted to see and really let us know what is to come, which I'm really excited about.
Well, fair enough. I mean, it's all good to have a tiny nitpick. Alyssa in the chat agrees with you. But personally, I kind of like that because it kind of lured you into a false sense. Oh, everything's over. They're hanging out and having fun. And then, bam, hits you with that fucking ending. I personally like that format. The
celebratory dinner is always a mistake. It's always too soon.
So I do want to say hello to those in the chat. We got Alyssa, Colonel Doomsday, and Rob from Sparking Gun Review. Thanks so much for joining, Rob. All right. So, Oh, Alyssa says it's pretty good, like an 8 out of 10, but far from the best finale ever. Well, I think it's a 10 out of 10 personally, but I guess we'll talk about that later. Anyway, let's go ahead and jump into some of these storylines. Let's start with James Holden and on the Rocinante when they find out that they're being chased by all these Belter ships and that they have zero chance of survival, and they decide to go out in a blaze of glory where the objective is to delay them and damage them as much as possible to give Alex and Bobby time to save Naomi's life. So is all, and this is kind of talking about a theme of the season and particularly a theme of the episode of sacrificing oneself to protect the family. And it sort of goes on to how the Rocinante crew, how tight-knit of the family are. And they were all, like, I think there's an example of each of this, except for Amos, who didn't get his chance in this particular episode. But there was an example of each of them willing to sacrifice their lives in order to save the rest. And Bull is all for that too, surprisingly enough, that because he realizes they have no other options and it's only the best way. And I like during the battle, which, by the way, we can talk about this now, what an amazing fucking battle. It was absolutely like the whole special effects, the way it was filmed. I think it was one of the best, if not the best battles of the show. And I like how during the battle, Bull's like, oh, this is the best tactic to use if we want to win. And Holden's like, we're not trying to win. We're trying to delay them. And that was his mindset. And Bull's like, well, it'd be nice to win. But that was cool. So anyway, Darrin, let me get your thoughts on this whole storyline.
Yeah, again, this is the big payoff that we have been going for. And this is Holden being captain of the Rocinante, that dedication to family, like you're saying. And it is just the focused amount when they see what's coming. It's like, we can't win this. Even when Monica is just like, what's the tactical situation on this? And Bull's like, oh, do you want me to spell, or what? She asks if they can survive. And Bull asks, do you want the tactical breakdown of it? And Holden's just, no. But we need to save my family. We need to buy them time to get Naomi out of there. And the only way is to bring it to the Belters. It was a beautifully shot. One of my favorite little bits here. And again, this is Holden being the captain of the Rocinante, which is why it is such a symbol of unity, as Officer Alla talks later on, is he nails Bull down on his slang. And he's calling the skinnies. And I love, even Monica brings up like language. And he lets it go one more time. And then he's like, that's the last time you're going to use that term on this ship. I know you're getting yourself all psyched up, but that has no place for it. And it was perfect because that's not what they're against. And even when it turns up being at the end, what ends up allowing them to win is their connection with other Belters. So I thought that was a beautiful kind of setup of why the crew is who it is and where they get their strength from. God, and as for the battle, you're right. Beautifully shot. I actually had to watch it a couple of times to note that while the Belter ships, the frigates, were firing down the missiles, that suddenly it was the Rossi emptying the railgun at point blank range to sort of take out those last little ships between the first and the second. So, I mean, that was kind of a cool little bit to rewatch just how much intricate little movement is going on throughout this scene. And the tension and the reversal in the middle of it, it paid off. Half-hour opening sequence all told in our big giant chunk, and this part was really just edge of your seat. Love how it's done.
Cool. So I just want to point out, Rob in the chat saying making a stand for the rest of your family was all over this episode. It was. It's pretty much the theme. And I think it worked really nice that way. And Alyssa's saying that she wants to rant about the Alex thing, but we'll wait. Oh, yeah. I actually had an issue with that, too. Maybe I wasn't as upset. But anyway, Don, Holden, his last stand. What'd you think?
Yeah, man, listen, listen, this is who James Holden is. This is who he has been, not since we first met him, but, pretty much since about season 2. And it is refreshing to see that no matter what, Holden is going to stick up for what is right. Even in the face of death, he's like, "Hey, look, man, no, we're not doing the whole bigoted thing, Earth versus Mars versus the Belt. At the end of the day, this is all for the family, and yeah, the fact that he was willing to take that moral stance, even in a time where most people probably would have let it go, just because it's like, hey, you know what, we're about to die anyway. At least that was the feeling. No, he's like, look, if we even if we gotta go out in a blaze of glory, you know, we're still gonna have some sort of, I guess, moral high ground here. Um, and listen, I love seeing the PDCs open up, you know, uh, and when he realized what was going on in terms of Drummer's ship, opening fire, yeah, he could have done what Bull wanted to do and start attacking him. He was like, no, we don't need to. They're already attacking each other. Maybe this is our way to possibly get through and possibly, help to save Naomi ourselves. So if we can survive, we don't without killing anybody, fine, let's do that too. So I like the fact that through this whole situation, he was keeping his wits about him and focusing on what the mission was. So yeah, listen, that's why James Holden is who he is.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And Rob in the chat says that Holden's arc as a character continues to impress me as the show continues, even without Miller in his head. That actually made me think that this was a unique season. This is the first time since season 3 we've seen Holden without Miller in his head. And how he sort of has it more together, but he's still a really interesting character, and still it's how he continues to grow, particularly at this point of just being willing to sacrifice. I love that line where it says, "If he wants a fight, we'll give him one." Like that's just a badass Holden line. I will say, Don, it's cute to watch your little kitty climb all over you, but I was having a similar problem right before I went on, but I resolved that problem by feeding my cats. I know it might not be as simple for you, but for me, it was that simple. I just fed them. They were all over the computer desk, climbing all over me, but I just fed them. Now they're both sleeping and not bothering.
Oh, so he was asleep, and then he woke up and decided to do this. This is
right.
Look, the internet runs by cat videos. It's required by law that one must show up in every video. We just have to fill our quota here. Keep things running.
No, absolutely. My cat's too lazy to show up. Anyway, that was it's pretty awesome Holden stuff. So let's go ahead and move over to Drummer and her whole family stuff. And I love this stuff. I don't know if I love this stuff more than people who haven't read the books, because I love this so much as a book reader because this is new. This wasn't in the books. I mean, it's kind of sort of based off of a character in the books, but it's pretty much all new, and it's a different dynamic by having Drummer be there. And I fucking loved what they did. Now, I complained earlier, I think it was last week, about how Drummer's whole polyamorous family seemed a bit, and maybe I stand by this complaint to some extent, but it seemed a bit rushed because it's only been a year since the previous season, and all of a sudden she has this whole family that she's willing to die for and all whatever. But I actually take that Well, I take most of it back because I think we needed to see like fewer episodes, like earlier episodes when they were like a lot of people complaining that like episodes 7 through 9 were too slow paced, and we got the scene where the drummer's family where they have the floating water and like drinking and messing around. But you needed that, like you needed all that stuff to establish how close knit this family was and how much they love each other, because it totally paid off in this episode, where you see there is a divide, where 3 of them were totally on board with fuck Marco, we're not going to go through with this, and 2 of them still were against that, and they wanted to support Marco, and of course we see a reason why. But it's funny because I was watching the after show for this episode, and they mentioned Ty Frank, the writer, mentioned that so actually, I think Wes Chatham, who plays Amos, asked him directly, did Drummer have this planned all along, or did she come up with it in the heat of the moment? And, well, he gave the caveat of, well, you got to talk to Kara G and how she played it. But as a writer, he thought that it was a spur of the moment thing, that she didn't have it planned, that when it came down to it, when it came time to destroy the Rosnate, she just couldn't do it. So instead grabbed Corral's gun. And yeah. Now, I think it was Sentient in the chat earlier mentioned that they were disappointed that Drummer didn't shank Corral. But I think it was also, I liked, of course, holding a gun on Corral was kind of dumb, because she should have realized that Corral she's pretty fierce, and that she would take the earliest opportunity to try to kill her. But Michio, of course, had Drummer's back, and I actually thought it was an interesting way for Corral to die. Maybe not as interesting as getting crushed by an elevator, but getting knocked out by Michio, because it showed the divide in Drummer's family. And god damn, that was just such an exciting moment, especially when Holden's like, Balter hostiles, and Drummer says, like, this is Drummer. Like, what an amazing moment. But then that was followed by one of the most crushing, like, hard things to watch, when Marco, like, they knew this was going to happen. Like, Drummer knew this is a consequence of what she did. That Marco just killing Serge slowly and having that, like, psychopathic look on his face. Like, he made sure to show his face in the video, how he was taking psychopathic pleasure and slowly killing their loved one, and how this broke the whole family apart. That basically, I believe that Okswana just simply doesn't love Drummer anymore. It wants nothing to do with her because she felt so betrayed. And blonde-haired dude, I can't remember his name, he agreed, and he went off with Drummer as well. So they were left with the other dark-haired dude, and Michio and Drummer were left behind. So it split the family. I thought it was great storytelling. I thought it was really tragic. I'm curious to see, Darrin, if you loved this storyline as much as I did.
Well, actually, while you were saying that, I was wondering if perhaps the reason she didn't initially just shoot Corral was to try and trade her for Serge.
Oh.
If that was possible. I don't know if
that would have worked. I
don't think so either. Part of me was like, if you had just shot Corral straight off, you might have, stopped a lot of the huffle around the ship and the potential disaster there when she sort of broke out. But on the other hand, she's also trying to do the right thing. And if you don't have to kill the person, there's not necessarily a need to.
I mean, I think that might be a good point, because maybe she was playing the whole Corral like hostage and be like, look, you got to return Serge or I'll kill her. But at that stage, it would be a risky proposition, because she would already destroyed some of Marco's ships. And
sure.
That might alone might be enough for him to be like, well, fuck Corral, I'm going to kill Serge out of spite.
Yeah. Now, whether or not she had pre-planned this, watching it again the second time earlier today, the way she walks onto the ship just before, into the captain's seat and sets herself down and gives that little eye to Corral, who's like, I will take weapons control, and Blondie, right, I don't remember his name, it's like, Kamina, you don't have to do this. Captain now, Kamina later. That was her making the thing. But the way that she eyed her body language, she was contemplating, at the very least, I felt she was contemplating it if not, planning it out and keeping an eye on like, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if she had totally made the choice, but I felt like when she had walked on that bridge, she was committed to whatever move that she was going to do. I'm glad she did. I do like that it wasn't Drummer killing Corral, though. The fact that it was one of the other crew, that it was another member of her family taking her back and sort of getting the schism of what we have to do and standing for what's right. Character-wise, I think that was a better choice. Just the revenge murder, while it's satisfying, I think it was probably better from a character arc to do it this way. And then, when on the other ship with Oksana and the other fellow, when he's like, I'm doing what we should have done a long time ago. It does. It sets the schism. My only hope that if she had done something with Corral sooner is possibly have given Surge a heads up or a lookout or some sort of message, ahead of time. On the other hand, if I was Surge in that position and Marco says, I need your help sending a message to Drummer, I would have brought a gun. To me, that's a Marco way of saying, meet me in airlock on deck 6 effectively, which he did. I think it was very effective in that sense. It certainly was emotional. My only downside is I wish there was more of the Drummer Holden interaction, because that was a big moment between characters. And it was like, maybe if other stuff hadn't happened, which we'll get to, there would have been time to have a brief exchange, and maybe it was cut for time because of other stuff that had to happen. But that was such a big moment, and that there was no follow-up or discussion or interaction between the two of them after that moment, I thought was just a little disappointing.
Before we get to you, Don, just real quick, when I check in with the chat, Sparking Gun or Rob is saying when Holden gets a call from Drummer letting him know she was out there, was such a great moment for two characters with such a contentious past. I'm not so sure I'd say they'd have a contentious past. I mean, maybe a little bit, but they did work together on the Behemoth to stop Ashford and to open the ring gates. And so mainly, like, she doesn't directly consider Holden a friend, but she considers him like a de facto friend because he's the man that her best friend loves. So that's why I think when he heard her name Drummer, he like knew what he like recognized her, thought of her as a friend, and it's like, oh, this explains why she attacked the other ships. But I do agree with you, Darrin. I think someone else in the chat said this as well. We should have gotten that scene. I was really disappointed that we didn't actually see what their interaction looked like. And then Citroom in the chat, very controversial statement saying that they didn't care for the Drummer storyline at all, which I personally disagree with. Anyway, Don, your thoughts on the whole Drummer storyline?
Well, this was part of the, kind of cathartic but also heartbreaking portion of the episode. Obviously, this was the moment that Marco said, "Hey, let's do a crew exchange." I was like, "Oh shit, Surge is dead." Yeah, it was like he's done for. It was just how long until it was going to happen, and what was going to be the method of execution. Because we already know Corral doesn't like Naomi, wanted Naomi dead at any cost, and anybody who loved Naomi was like, yeah, you can get it too. She was kind of on her on her kind of Tupac Shakur kind of thing. It was like, yeah, you can get it, and you can get it, and anybody who's friends with you can get it too. So, it was like that. It was only a matter of time. It was either Corral was gonna try to knock off Drummer, or Drummer was gonna try to knock off Corral, and Yeah, this was Chekhov's gun sitting right there and just waiting to go off. But to see what it did to Drummer's entire crew, that was the heartbreaking part, because if you oh okay, because if you think about it, um, like she said, I didn't really, they weren't really left with a choice. Do you want to be basically a slave to an intergalactic terrorist? It's like, okay, yeah, we got to go out on our own now, but all right, fine. At least hey, if Holden survives, you have savior of the whole damn everything, Holden, to back you up and say yes. When the chips were down, and when the man that everyone's been hunting was trying to get me killed, this woman and her crew saved me. She's with us. You got somebody to have your back now. So even though she might have felt isolated in terms of, okay, well now we're against Marco and the belt, she still has a home. But again, because of the generations of animosity between the three big factions, I think it was, she wasn't really seeing that broader picture when it came to it. And yes, it was heartbreaking what happened to Surge, but at the end of the day, Surge was a slave and didn't even realize it, and that was the kind of messed up part for him, because again, he's thinking, oh, okay, yeah, everything was only up and up. All right, well, sure, we didn't necessarily like what Marco did with throwing the rocks at Earth and blowing up the Senate on Mars, but in for a penny, in for a pound. All right, you want me to serve on the ship? All right, I'm here. Cool. So he's going about his day thinking everything is fine. And I understand, yes, there is no way he should have trusted Marco Inaros. There's definitely no way he should have trusted him. But, he had been on the ship for weeks at this point, and nothing happened. So, God damn it. No. Sorry. Got it. Ugh. Got this little one here doing things he shouldn't be doing. Anyway, yeah, so he, was thinking, all right, everything's cool. And you saw him pleading. He was like, hey, no. Look, she pledged the faction. There's no way that she betrayed you. Come on, she even gave me over to you. Why, why would she do that if she's just going to betray you? And yeah, I mean, look, yes, Drummer knew that this was going to be a consequence, and unfortunately, Surge lost his life. But what is the saying? Better to die on your feet than to live on your knees.
Well, okay, go ahead.
I don't know. I was just going to say, I think part of the issue is, while this is a season all about family, and this episode all about family and what would we do, and there's an odd sacrifice in this, part of me is like, yeah, but this is a family that would see what this person and these people mean to her, and we're still willing to kill them for Marco. That family is not recognizing the pain and the trauma that their loved one, Drummer, is going through right there. So, I mean, there's that. There's also the fact that we've only seen them for one season, whereas the family of the Rocinante we've been with for years. So obviously, we're going to feel this connection a lot more than what we've gotten in the few scenes with our polyamorous Belter family. Yeah. So, I mean, in some ways, I think that robs some of the emotional impact that could be there. On the other hand, hey, if this was the Rossi, if they had to do that and they couldn't trade somebody for, Corral for Surge, then they would have found some way to get a message out to Serge to let him know to be ready. I mean, with everything going between Naomi and Holden and sneaking out messages and trying to get and constantly pushing and fighting, I don't know. Was Serge just give it up? Did they try to get a hold of him? Did they try to warn him?
Well, here's what I would say about Oksana is that she was kind of looking at it from, well, who do you love more, us or Naomi? Which is the wrong way to look at it. It's not the way Drummer was looking at it. Like Don mentioned, it's better to to die on your feet than to serve, and I think that's exactly what Drummer is thinking. It wasn't just I would choose Naomi over Serge. Is I choose not to be under Marco's thumb, and I choose not to let him force me to kill good people who I know are good people. And I think this was building. Like, she was never okay with joining Marco in the first place, but she did it out of begrudgingly because her family urged her to. But this is building and building and building, and finally and I like how she's flat out said, like, I had no choice. There's no way I could do this. She realized that, and that's why I do like Ty Frank's explanation that she decided that in the heat of the moment, because I like the think that she just right then and there she realized that it was impossible and she couldn't do it, but she did know the consequence would be one of her family members dying, but she didn't see any other way.
Oh, sure. And I mean, and really the dynamics of what we do for family between this family and what the Rossi does and the choices they make, and even the whole ending up dying, making a stand type kind of idea, all intersects in this episode from multiple perspectives with people trying different things and different outcomes. And I think that's what makes the writing so enjoyable and so engaging, is because everybody's dealing with the same things. What choices do they make, and what are the consequences of those choices? And we get to see all of that within the soup of the episode. And I think that's that layering, I think, makes it so much more interesting for us.
Yeah, I really like what Sit Room says. I think they get it absolutely correct. If they knew Drummer at all, they should have known this would be the only outcome. And I actually think that Oksana didn't truly know Drummer. And I don't think she truly understood her. And maybe she, once she does now know her for who he is, realizes that she's not the woman for her. And so maybe she's right to leave because she obviously didn't actually truly know who Drummer was.
Yeah, I would totally go with that. I agree.
All right, cool. So let's go ahead and let's talk about Naomi's rescue. And I completely agree with Darrin. Gravity be damned. Although I really never liked that movie in the first place, but it drove home to me how much better this was. I mean, it was, the way it was shot was so beautiful. Like, I think that was brilliance in the photography choice to just keep the focus on her face. It's all you see. You don't see anything around her, so it's kind of her perspective. Even after you hear Bobby's voice, like, coming to get her, like, they still focus on her, and you see, like, just how, like, beaten and abused she's been, how much abuse she's taking over these past few episodes, like being having limited oxygen, and basically, so it's also interesting that she put the ship in a spin so that Alex wouldn't dock, but Alex is trying to dock anyway because he has that mindset of, I'm going to save her no matter what, and I wish you call him a brave idiot. It's cool. So she has, like, a last-ditch effort, which could have very easily failed. She decides to jump out into space, and hand signal them, and I think, and it's actually, Bobby even says, oh, I might not have even seen this if the lights had not even been on, but they managed to catch the hand signals, and she, I think, is thinking that she's going to die at this moment. She's just doing it to save Alex, but it turns out that Bobby managed to come out and save her, and it was just I mentioned this in my review when Bobby came out and was taking her back and put oxygen. I was crying. I was bawling my eyes out. I think the whole way it was shot and the music and everything, it was absolutely beautiful. But anyway, John, your thoughts on this whole thing?
Bobby to the rescue. Bobby. Nah, man, listen, obviously, again, heartbreaking, breathtaking, suspenseful. When you first see that the ship is doing the spinning or whatever, and uh, um, and Naomi recognizes that they're still coming anyway. She hears it over the comms, and she's like, "Oh, damn it! All right, this isn't going to work out." So she, decides to jump. Like she's got no oxygen save for what is, nesting inside of the actual suit. She takes one deep breath, puts on the faceplate, jumps out of the ship, and is there, like, okay, I see them. Hopefully they'll see me. She starts doing the hand signs and all that stuff, and for a second I was like, okay, Alex is gonna see her. Then you see the Razorback kind of zip by. I'm like, oh wait, he didn't see her. But then Bobby, Bobby picks it up and because he's still like, no, gotta go, Doc, And she's like, hey, idiots, I saw something. Okay, slow down. uh, you know, and she does the thing that she does best. Bobby to the rescue. She's Expanse's version of Wonder Woman. Um, so yeah, when Naomi is out there, we're getting the perspective shot, right outside of her helmet, and you hear her kind of whispering to herself. She's kind of resigned herself to, okay, yeah, it's about to be over for me. I'm done for. And then you hear Bobby in the background, and then you hear the sound of the air being pumped in. It was like, oh man, okay, cool. But then, just then, as they're making their way back to the Razorback, and you hear Alex say that was one hell of a ride. And at first, I didn't even hear like the emergency beeping at first. I just remember hearing Bobby say, Alex, 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 and then you get the perspective, as it's going, from behind him and then in front, and I was like, holy shit, what just happened? Yeah, like I didn't read the books, so the whole thing about stroking, and I know you'll want to expand on it more, Mark.
Yes.
I'm not gonna go too far, but I'm just gonna say that I didn't know that was a thing that could happen, and apparently it has been mentioned before, and it just didn't even register that was a thing that could happen during high burn. But yeah, we'll get to the Alex thing when you decide that you want to rant on it. But I just I wanted to encapsulate my feelings about the scene in total.
Yeah, no worries. I did want to get Darren's thoughts on Naomi first, and then we'll get into the Alex stuff. Anyway,
Yeah, I'm
Darren,
not. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm not going to go any further into
yeah,
that.
no worries. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, what can I say? That was amazing. Yes, I mean the tension has been built up with everything that Naomi has done for this season. So of course the fact that she tries to do one thing that's into a spin that doesn't work, last ditch effort to run out. And look, Dominic Tipper, as it is said countless times in the chat, she needs some award nominations, if not for anything but this scene. There's a minute and a half, almost 2 full minutes, where we are stuck on her face doing the whole reaction from, did they see I'm running out, the bells going off, the warning sign, the CO2, to being out, the stars spinning. Is that the reflection of a drivetrain? Are they coming? Are they not? She feels alone. I mean, all of these emotions she gets to experience with the camera right on her. And Senti in the chat hit it straight on the head here. The sound design made this perfect. That claustrophobic, heavy breathing, and the music they did perfectly. They let it rise up all the way to the end and stop, and let it hold for those couple of beats where you know that that's it. She's gone. Naomi's dead. She's suffocated. Kunk kunk. Huh? And she reacts just as we do. I mean, again, it was like, you're crying, and I'm like this through the whole scene. Yeah, I mean, it was beautifully. And the fact that, again, they still held it on her as we get to guess what's the sound. Is that Bobby? The sound of the air coming in, her first breaths, the crystallization change, the atmosphere shifts inside the suit. And we still hold on her until Bobby pops around and that kind of, the stars settle out and she comes around. Is like, I don't know if she's all right. And what the only line is that what she gives at the end is, I'm okay now. I think I didn't put on the subtitles. But yeah, it was just, we got to do that whole journey with her, and she kept it. That is award-winning performance right there. So yeah, I know we'll get on to Alex in a minute, which is a whole different thing, but just, yeah, that moment, that was a whole payoff for everything that Naomi went through. That was so worth that payoff right there.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a few things in the chat that I want to respond to. Someone was saying that they were disappointed. Oh, Sentient was saying disappointed that Bobby didn't ride a torpedo like she did in the books. And I gotta be honest, I didn't even remember that. It wasn't that memorable for me. It wasn't until someone else pointed out that she rode a torpedo in the books, and I was like, you don't need that though. I think that would have interfered. Yeah.
Little too slim pickings right there. Yeah.
Yeah. It would have interfered with the beauty of the scene. So I think it was actually a great decision to not do that. You don't, it's not really necessary. And then Doc Kyburn or Coburn, anyway, in the chat saying Naomi was doing the YMCA letters. Oh my gosh. And also, I think Rob and Alex and Darren as well mentioned, Alex 409, mentioned in the chat, or Darren just mentioned it before, that Dominic Tipper should get nominated for some awards. And I hate to break it to you guys, it's not going to happen because these award shows are bullshit. That I learned a while ago, because it's all about popularity, and great shows that aren't popular enough never get the recognition. Like The Leftovers, for example, should have won all sorts of acting awards and writing awards and directing awards. They didn't get shit. The Expanse is yet to be nominated for anything when it should have been so far. So unfortunately, there's all just a popularity contest. Game of Thrones
100% on Rotten Tomatoes.
one best, one for best, and season 8 of Game of Thrones won.
100% Rotten Tomatoes rating. Season 5, Season 4, Season 3, all 100%. People suck if they don't watch the show. That's all I'm saying.
It is a shame that it hasn't broke through yet. It is really a shame. But yeah, those award ceremonies are bullshit. Anyway, yeah, let's go ahead and get into the whole Alex death thing. I think everyone here is sort of aware of my feelings on this, and I don't. I first of all, I gotta admit that I was wrong, because Don kind of predicted something like this might happen. I was like, no way, they've already filmed it, it's in the can. And no, they did do it. So either my information was wrong, that they hadn't finished filming, or they went back and did some reshoots. I actually think it was reshoots. It would be interesting to see like the other takes of the party with Alex there and stuff like that. When I watched the after show, the Ty Frank was acting like this was planned all along. Oh yeah, in the writer's room a year ago we were playing. I'm like, bullshit. This is clear. Don't try to rewrite history. And they didn't mention anything about Cass Anvar at all. They didn't mention anything about the controversy. Of course, just saying far away from that as possible. It's obvious that's why they wrote him off the show. It's obvious. And it's obvious that this was thrown in. From a writing perspective, if they were planning this all along, it would have been executed better. I think it is a definite reshoot. It's a definite rewrite. I think that's beyond obvious. I think they did do the best job that they could, because we got like the line with Amos later about, say if that was the way I would want to go, saving this family. It's a cool line. And then Holden sort of touching the plaque or whatever. It was cool. But overall, I think there was too much emotional stuff going on in this episode already. Particularly with Drummer's storyline, with Naomi's storyline, and this kind of to shove this in on top of all that stuff, it didn't get, like Alex didn't get he was such an important character for 5 seasons. He didn't get the death he deserved. And even in the after show, they were talking about what a beautiful death it was. Not really. I think like the whole, like people were pointing out in the chat that the whole, and Don mentioned this earlier, the whole stroking out is a thing that's been around in the show itself. In fact, mentioned this in season 1, that's why they get the juice, and they always talk about the risk of stroking out. That's why one of the biggest moments they mentioned this is when in season 3, when Bobby and Avasarala were on the Razorback, and Bobby had to not go too fast because Avasarala was really susceptible for stroking out because of her age, so she couldn't go as fast as she wanted to. So it was a thing, but it kind of like the way I've heard it happen was happening while you were doing maneuvers, not like 20 minutes after. But whatever. I mean, maybe that's still medical sound, but I still think it was definitely thrown in there. And this was like, I don't mind them killing off Alex through stroking. Let me make that clear, because they did this for Fred Johnson in the books. Like, he wasn't shot. He actually stroked out when the Rocinante was doing high movement maneuvers. And that was actually a good death for him, because it was placed right in the story. This is not placed right in the story. As I said, it's obvious that it's thrown in there because it interferes with the narrative structure of this episode, and it doesn't give its proper due. And I got a comment on my video, I think it was someone who's in the chat here, who mentions that, I think, yeah, Dan, I believe, who mentioned that it felt like the character was like, oh no, Alex is dead. Okay, so what else is new? Let's move on. Like, it kind of felt like that. It did. It did really.
Oh no. Anyway.
And the whole thing with Bull drinking out of Alex's cup, I mean, come on, that's stupid. That's ridiculous foreshadowing. It's like, hey, we got rid of that stupid actor, so here's another one that's like, he's gonna take it. I'm still insistent they should have recast. Like, someone in my comments in my video mentioned, I don't know if you ever seen the show, God, what's the show called? It was on Amazon animated. God damn it, I'm blanking on it. But anyway, there was this actor who was in that show who would have been perfect for Alex. And once they mentioned, I was like, holy shit, you're right. Like, he would have done a good Alex. But no. Instead, they decided to kill him off in this stupid ceremonious way that I don't think ruined the episode, because I still love this episode a lot. But I think it does a disservice to the character. Anyway, Darrin, let's get your thoughts on this.
That is how you say fuck you to an actor right there. While still honoring the character, because the last shot is the CGI freeze frame of him with the bubbles of blood coming out, like you say, stroking out. They use the audio from off camera, so obviously a pull from a different take or a different episode. He gets the one shot, and you never see him again. They only talk about Alex. There's no picture. There's no memorial. This is the only way they could let him complete his run for Alex, play the character, give the character itself honor, and then once his job as the actor was done, to cut him off so you never see him again. Whether you could agree with what the choices were or not, that's a personal thing. I do think it was better they did it now than in between seasons saying, oh, he just died. Because this way they wrap up the season, it's done, and now they can start season six completely blank. They don't have to refer, they don't have to do anything. So in some ways, I think it's better for them to get their clean break now and have a moment where they could sort of do the honor and the, look at the plate, the nameplate, or, say the nice line or the big, long, extended hug, or stare at the giant empty seat in the middle of a conference that somebody should be sitting in. I don't know if they just CGI'd them out. I don't know what budget they did. But I agree, they definitely did reshoots after this. And I think it was the show's way of trying to honor the character and then cutting ties with the actor completely, which was a bummer because Cass Anvar was a big proponent for the show. He was a big talker for the show. Fortunately, he may have used that to nefarious purposes, and so fuck him. But it's a bummer, and really a bummer for the character to be gone, because you need a Martian on the ship. And I don't know if I would expect Bobby to be the one, but I don't know if she's going to be the liaison. We'll get into that in a little bit of where we think that's all ending up. But yeah, I mean, it's the quickest way to cut ties. And like the fact that his last shot was just like a CGI freeze frame with blood, and then you never see him again. That to me, that is what production felt about the actor afterwards.
Well, you mentioned that's the way to like say "fuck you" to an actor. I was thinking of the chef from South Park. South Park. But I don't know. I think I might disagree with you slightly. Though I actually think it might have been better had they killed him off in between seasons. Sure, it would have also come off with an afterthought, but at least it wouldn't interfere with this episode, which I think it does. I
agree. It
interferes with this episode, and if they at least they did it in between seasons, then they could. Yeah, they could do. It wouldn't directly interfere with something. It could woven into the start of the next season, which I think probably would have been easier.
No, his death is part of the break that happened, like literally right after the rescue, and then his break, and he stroked out. That's just what happens. Oh, I talked to his wife, and then we got to have all the emotional connection scenes and the follow-up discussions. But yeah, to me, that was part of the break of the momentum on this episode. That was like, oh, and now we got to deal with this shit real quick.
Actually, Alex409 in the chat says there's behind-the-scenes photos of Alex at the party reuniting with Amos. So they definitely, like I said, it's definitely confirmed it's reshoots. And actually, Colonel Doomsday in the chat, I don't know if he was responding to someone else in the chat, but it's kind of like an episode of Voyager. But actually, I was thinking that Alex's death in this episode reminds me of Trip's death at the end of Enterprise.
I hated that.
It's been a long time. Anyway, it's got to work on him somehow. But anyway, yeah, it reminded me of that because that also felt like haphazardly thrown in, even though it wasn't a problem with the actor. It was just done so poorly, and all the characters were like, "Oh, our best friend just died. Who cares? Let's move on." Like, and that's what exactly.
He dies in a closet, man. He dies. He's a big hero, giant. He dies in a closet against like two guys. Sad.
Yeah, anyway, I forgot to give a spoiler warning, so I am sorry for spoiling Enterprise, but spoiler alert, it was in fact a long road getting from there to here. Anyway, Don, your thoughts on the whole Alex's death scene?
All right, so as I had stated before, the whole thing about him stroking out kind of caught me off guard. I didn't even realize the emergency beeping at first because I'm still coming off of yes, Naomi just got saved, Bobby to the rescue again, and once that happened, like honestly speaking, I was able to pick up on where the reshoots happened, because if you look, and this is jumping ahead real quick, but if you look at Amos on Luna while he's waiting for the Rosinante to dock, and then when he actually meets up with Holden and Naomi, his hair is just a little bit shorter. And that's how I picked up on it. I was like, oh, reshoot.
Interesting. I have to keep an eye out for that. At least it didn't have a CGI'd off mustache or anything.
But yeah, listen, look, as far as the real world implications behind Cass Anvar, I'll be honest with you, when this whole thing first came about, I didn't want to believe it, not because I wanted to believe that somebody would just set him up. I was hoping that it was, a misunderstanding. Maybe he said an offhand remark, it was taken the wrong way or whatever, or maybe he made some advances and it was like, hey, well, look, I don't like you in that way, and it, so because sometimes that does happen, signals get crossed. But then I saw the captions of like the stuff he was sending, and I was like, oh, this guy's a fucking idiot. He's an idiot and he's a creep, and he deserves to be written the fuck out of history. Because look, I don't understand how in this day and age, with everything that's been going on in social media and in the world, how there are people who are still this fucking stupid. But then again, look, when you got issues up here, I don't think that there is I don't think that there is a line. So, and unfortunately, because of this person's inability to know where the proper lines are drawn, we lost a character prematurely who could have been around to do more important things. I mean, look, I'm gonna miss Alex. Was he the greatest part of the show? No, but he added a little spice, and the fact that we're not gonna have him around anymore because somebody was a fucking horn dog and didn't know how to turn it down and be a gentleman. Yeah, it's a sad thing, and yeah, look, I know Mark in your your review before, you were saying that you needed to apologize to me. Like, no, you don't need to apologize to me about me being right. This is kind of like that scene in the Dark Knight where Alfred tells Bruce, this time I don't want to be right. And I didn't want to be right about this. But I'm like, look, I'm the guy who sits around watching behind the scenes stuff and listening to stuff about reshoots all the time, and just working in entertainment even for a short time. Reshoots don't take that long. If they still got the sets up, call the actor in. Hey, yeah, we need you to come in, for today and film this thing. Okay, sit in the chair. Yeah, we just need you to sit there. We're gonna do a pass. We're gonna turn the camera around to see your face, and then you're done. All right. How many takes? We'll do like 3 takes. Just all you got to do is just sit there.
Well, I think like people in the chat were speculating that Cass Anvar wasn't called for reshoots. That they took a shot of him sitting and they CGI'd the blood and they CGI'd the thing.
Well, they CGI'd the blood, but if you remember the camera is coming from behind.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember.
I mean, they could film that with a double though.
Well, no, the thing I'm wondering was, all right.
They take shots from a couple areas, switch the CGI effect that's on there.
It has Alex going like this, but they could have had a shot of him doing that.
Right. Well, no, but I'm trying to remember. Did the camera sweep around, or did the camera just? Because I remember the camera coming from behind him, right, and it was going like,
and then it pans across. So yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
so,
but they could use a double from the behind and then cut it. And then have the still shot of Cass Anvar sitting there.
Okay, I just didn't remember. Like
the one thing I thought they might have took from it is him saying that was a wild ride. I wonder if they did get him just to do that audio.
That might have already been there, though.
Yeah,
because he says that. Yeah, because he says that before. Remember, he has to say that before Bobby is, like Alex. So, that might have already been in there from before. But like I said,
Yeah. No, the Bobby thing that could have been a reshoot. That was definitely a reshoot of her saying Alex.
Right.
So I think they got reshoot with the other actors. I just don't think they got him back because they didn't want to.
I mean, like I said, I don't know. I mean, they could have. It could have been. Don't know. But the Amos and Naomi and Holden. Yeah, I was like, oh, okay. I see the reshoot because his hair was like not a lot shorter, but it was shorter a little bit in the front. The way I was like, oh, his hair is different. Oh, this is a reshoot.
Yeah, I want to watch that again just to see if I can spot.
It's not crazily noticeable. Like they still styled it different. I mean, styled it the same, but it's just like an inch or two shorter. So and it's like right in the front.
But I know what you're talking about because there's scenes I don't think you've ever seen Lost, but there's episodes of Lost where they take an episode from a previous season and they say, oh, this is the scene keeps going, and they cut it with new footage. You can tell where it's been cut because the actors look totally different. Like there's no way. Like they try their best to make them look the same. But yeah, and then there's like the Fantastic Four where the person was wearing this really terrible wig.
Oh yeah.
But all right, so there was a really a kind of dirty, sick joke, but I'm sorry, the dirty part of me just loved this joke in the chat. Just gonna point it out, where Let's see. Sentient very seriously points out that it was more than just messages. One woman accused him of stroking his willy in front of her while telling her to come into the shower, which is very yeah. But Doc,
Okay. All I saw was the messages. I didn't see that part. I saw the messages and I was like, oh God, no. You're done. You're out of here.
Doc answered, then it was super appropriate for his character to die of a stroke. I thought that was pretty bad. That's bad. I'm sorry, but
oh my God.
Couldn't help but pointing that out.
Oh yeah.
Anyway.
But no, and you're right. They could have totally Don Cheadled him and just recast the role. Whatever decision making they had, if they didn't want to bring any of that energy coming forward or not. I don't know whatever those production meetings were like, but they certainly could have started off season 6 going, what happened? Oh yeah, that was it. What somebody in the chat actually had brought up. They could have done, Doc Corcoran. Alex should have just had severe radiation burns to his face and needed reconstructive surgery. Then they could have recast him just like a soap opera. Yeah.
There's other more crazy sort of sci-fi shows that maybe aren't as serious as The Expanse that would find weird ways to bring characters back on their different actor, like put their mind in the body of an android. I think Stargate Atlantis did that, and there's the weird ways. But The Expanse is too much of a hard sci-fi. It's just too true to science to do something weird like that. So, but I still wish they would have just did a recast and just pretended like they did. I think someone brought up that maybe it was because of the fact that everyone complained about Arjun's recasting is why they didn't do it, but they just need to do a better job because they just did a shitty job with Arjun's recasting. A lot of people brought up alternatives to people who could play Alex. I'm sure they could find someone who could play Alex who would actually still feel like the actor. I personally still think that's the way they get. I totally agree. Cassie and Var definitely out. Completely agree with that. But I think they're left with a choice. Then, do we kill off Alex? Or do we recast? And I think they made the wrong choice. Personally,
right. I mean, listen. As long as they don't do the Savick thing. Oh my God. Why couldn't they make that work? Anyway.
Yeah, new Arjun was way too young. Space people in the chat says absolutely, and he was too suave too. He wasn't the old Arjun had this really homely persona. I could really see him being Avasarala's husband, but this guy's oh, no, that's not Avasarala's husband. She wouldn't. But anyway.
No. And Sentient in the chat also mentions the way they did Alex's death is all the hallmarks of done in post-production. And as an editor for 15 years, he can spot that crap easily. All right, professional opinion. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Anywho, let's move on from this and let's talk about Amos. Good old Amos. He's kind of just like the comic relief for this episode where he says his goodbyes to Eric, and Eric, of course, offers him to go with him. And Eric's like, oh, we're having a new life through the ring gates. I do wonder how he's going to get there. But anyway, he offers Amos. And it is interesting. Yeah, it is interesting the way he's because he's made a life for himself as a crime lord in Baltimore. He could do the same on a world without any laws. So he'd probably fit right in, which is pretty interesting. But of course, Amos turned him down outright because he knows this place is on the Rossi. But I love the whole running joke with the tequila. He's like, I will have a drink with you. And he takes it out. After all this time about all the fuss over the tequila, he drops it. Yeah, a little help here, but no one wanted to help him. And he's like, damn, fuck it. And just goes off. But then my absolute one of my favorite comedic scenes anyway in the episode, and one of like my favorite comedic scenes in the entire show must be when he goes to Holden and has this little talk. Oh, you remember that time that you were gonna kill me? You're totally gonna do it, right? It's like, yeah, sure, but we're family now. It's like, oh, so you're cool with me now, even though we threatened to kill each other, we're all cool with each other. It's like, all right, I'm glad you understand. Come on, Peaches. He said yes. And she just walks in. He's like, looks at her. It's like, what the fuck? And it's like, whatever. Like, kind of shrugs it off. That's Amos for you. Like, I love that scene. It was so amazing. Anyway, Darren, your thoughts on that one?
Oh yeah. I mean, he got rope-a-doped, and he knows he got rope-a-doped. It was beautiful, and that's not what you would expect from Amos. Amos is very direct in so many ways, and he just came right around. And I mean, and Holden did. He asked for a favor, and Holden said, yes, of course. So he already let him know that he was good. He was going to get the favor, and then he cleared it all up. But that was a long time ago, right? We've gone through that. We're family. So yeah, I mean, it was perfect. And the fact that he grabs onto it, like, before he even looks, and he realizes, like, did I just do something I shouldn't have? He's like, okay, she's going to be with us for a while. She's going to need a new ID, but that's okay. I got a guy that can do that. Which was just a beautiful Eric reference. And then just puts on and getting that little moment where you can see, like, he wants to say something and they didn't. I think that was the best. That Amos comes, she gets the hi and takes her off, and he has that moment, and then just again accepts the fact that, all right, I just got taken, and he's right. I gotta trust him if he's doing it, because that's where we're at. And I think it was just a beautiful bit of a scene. I loved every. I mean, I already love Amos, but this was just like Amos on fire. Yeah, come on, Don. What'd you think?
Fucking Amos, man. Listen, you guys know how I feel about Clarissa, and I feel probably the way that Holden felt, like, are you fucking kidding me? Really? This broad fucking trying to set me up, as a fucking terrorist, and she tried to kill me and my girl, and how? What the Amos? What the fuck? I mean, like, that's what his facial expressions read. Yeah, but it's like, I can't kill Amos. He's my brother. So, okay, I guess I gotta accept the fucking psychopath, that could possibly kill me at any moment now. But I guess if Amos has her, then she must be under control. But they were mentioning in the chat, she almost looked unrecognizable. Like, yeah, I don't know, she eating some cheese puffs or something like that, but right before she came on, like, like, her face looked very round for some reason in that scene when she came on the ship. I'm like, what happened? But
reshoots.
Yeah, reshoots, obviously, but yeah, it was kind of weird when she came on the ship. I was like, Carissa, what happened to you? Oh, who knows? But either way, it was still like, damn it! Now she's on the fucking Rosinante. Why? Why the fuck is Clarissa Mel there?
She's gonna be the new pilot. That's my guess.
God.
Rob in the chat agrees with me.
No, not the new pilot.
It was mentioned. I mean, she did mention what last season, 2 seasons ago now, when she was talking with her dad, that because her sister was gone, that she could race the Razorback.
Oh, really? I don't remember that.
So yeah, it was like a throw off, and she was, in the pilot seat on the ship up. So they might be maneuvering that. Just a guess.
I still think that scene with Bull drinking out of Alex's cup was obvious foreshadowing. I think it's pretty clear they're going to make him the new pilot.
They might, but I don't think he's in it for the same reasons. I think that he was there to kind of fight for Fred, but not so much to follow Holden. And I think everybody else is there, with Holden as captain. But
that's why he might make an interesting addition to the group. But I don't know. Well, I mean, they could always go a different way in the books. In the books, she was just Amos's assistant, and I think that makes more sense to me. I think she'd fit that role better. I just couldn't see her as a pilot.
Sure,
but I don't know. But anyway, Don, the one thing I did want to point out is, like, you cast your mind back 3 years ago, 2018, when we were doing live discussions on season 3 of The Expanse, and you were talking about how Clarissa was irredeemable, that you were never going to trust her ever again, that she was the most evil thing ever. And I remember me and Colonel Doomsday having a little exchange because we read the books. We knew this was coming. We knew that she would eventually join the Rocinante crew.
Just can't let her on the comms.
Man. she tried to first off she tried to frame him, and then she tried to kill him, and then the other thing too is Monica's on the ship. Monica's gonna know who the fuck she is.
Yeah, man, but Monica's gonna be their intelligence girl now. Look, everybody is getting in their Mission Impossible setup here. We've got the Martian Marine who's the liaison that kicks ass. We've got the ex-reporter who's doing all the military research stuff now. We've got our pilot. We got our Earthers. We got our Belters. Everybody's filling in their spots. It's just my guess.
Yeah, now fuck that. Put her ass back in jail, all right? Leave her on Luna. Throw her ass in the fucking brig. You know what? Is her dad still alive? She can sit in the cell next to him. She wanted to be reunited with her dad anyway. Put him in the same fucking cell.
I don't know. She might be a good heavy to have around. I mean, she did take out all of those guards last week. That was the line. She did that with her bare hands. I'm going to treat her a lot better from now on.
Okay, fine. So you know what? Put her in a specialized missile like they did with fucking Khan and his people, and fire her at what's this guy?
This
Marco
is not the Expanse into darkness.
Yeah.
Look. You make a specialized capsule for Clarissa. You fire her at Marco Onaros. She kills Marco Onaros, kills his little bitch ass son and everybody on the fucking bridge. And then, in my eyes, she might be redeemed by that much.
So basically, you're gonna have her like hibernate for 20 years, and she's gonna come back and want revenge on Holden and be like, "Holden, I've been waiting for this moment for 25 years."
Then you'll have Holden going, "Peaches!"
No.
Oh my gosh. Anyway, Sentient in the chat says they better hope Peaches doesn't grind her teeth in her sleep. But to be all technical nerd book nerd type thing, she actually uses her tongue at the roof of her mouth, not her teeth. But regardless. Anyway. Cool. So let's go ahead and let's talk about this party. Now, some people, I've seen a lot of comments online saying, why are they throwing a celebration party? Like, they lost. Like, Marco is still out there fucking shit up. But I don't think it's a celebration party. I think they're kind of regrouping. It's more of a formal gathering. And I do really love Avasarala's speech, and it's obvious when she said Martian originally. Alex was there, but so they had to use Bobby since he wasn't there.
It's the fellowship of the system.
Yes, there you are. You have my ship. Anyway. So yeah, no, but that was a very touching speech. I like when Avasarala said that. It was like, this is exactly why Marco tried to kill you, because you represent everything that he hates. And this is how we're gonna win. Like, and that's something that David Pasture, transportation idiot, did not understand. And this is why Avasarala should have continued to be the SG. That she absolutely knows the correct way. This is always sort of, not always, but since like season 3, let's say, been her attitude that the way to win is with unity. Oh my god, I hate saying that as far as current contemporary events go, but let's forget about that. But as far as the show goes, yes, that's absolutely the way to get through this. And I thought the scene was touching. Anyway, Darrin, you have thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, again, this is your season finale kind of wrap up scene that you have to have. You know, whether it does feel like you're celebrating a little too early, and perhaps that was the formality of it all. But it's also understandable that everybody kind of needs a break at the moment. Naomi has to be, interviewed about her knowledge on Marco. I mean, that's going to be useful. And yeah, I think Avasarala's speech was spot on, because that's exactly what this is about, and that's the importance of having the balance for the Rossi crew, which is why, especially with Alex gone, you need a Martian back on the Rossi. So Bobby, who should have been on the ship 2 seasons ago, now really needs to get back on there, so that we have a full balance out. I don't know who else we could just put in and fill that role. I don't know of any major Martian characters that we have that could just, for some reason show up. And I think that balance is, well, maybe because I think that balance is important. I think that image is exactly what Marco is trying to fight, and having that lead in the battle for it, that it's not Earth versus Mars versus the belt. It's all of the system together, especially considering where we, get the hint of things going afterwards. So I think it was an important scene, and I love how in the midst of it, it was now don't make a response, just follow me and come this way. Something's happened. It was a perfect kind of like, oh, did we take the breath? Oh, now we're in trouble. And the fact, as we'll get into that, the 3-hour delay, I think, even made it more perfect that you are helplessly watching what everyone feared might happen, or, the deepest fears of what might have happened.
All right, real quick, there's a couple things I wanted to respond to in the chat. Alyssa, yes, I am very much aware that I wasn't actually doing Conda. I was doing Danny Carvey's Con from SNL, absolutely. Also, Sentient says, so no more French kissing for Peaches then. That's an interesting scenario, that she's French kissing some dude and he accidentally operates her Maz and he rips his head off. I guess not.
Dating Peaches is extra dangerous.
And Sentient also says elites whining and dining while the world burns. It's very realistic. That's a very good point, actually. And there's one thing I also wanted to point out, a line that I missed from the books, although I understand it probably wouldn't have fit as well in the show. It doesn't really fit it, but I do want to point out, because I thought it was hilarious, is that in this scene in the books, Avasarala gathers up all these generals and Holden is there and whatnot, and they said, okay, we're going to need to put together a team to go after Marco, the elites, and we're going to need to know exactly what's happening. And then she goes to Holden. Holden's like, oh, so you want me to lead the team? And she's like, oh, yeah, sure, I want you to lead the team, because every fucking general I have is dead, and you're the last person alive. But I suppose I understand why they left it out, because they wanted to be sort of more friendly with her and have a more friendly atmosphere and whatnot.
That's season 6. That's the opener right
there. Anyway, Don, what's your thoughts on this party?
it seemed kind of weird that Clarissa actually wasn't there. Only because Arisarella shouldn't recognize her. I don't think.
No, she
Uh,
would. Even though she never met her in person, she knows who she is. Like,
yeah,
she would
knows who she
recognize
is by reputation, but maybe not by face. So,
her. With their modern technology, I think they would. I think they would.
I think the
And she-
lower key would have been the better choice
yeah, and
there.
she's even if Avasarala personally wouldn't recognize her, she's wanted. Like she doesn't go flaunting in front of a bunch of high up UN officials and military generals when you're wanted.
um, well, I don't know. To me, that just seemed a little odd, only because like Amos was there, and was just like, all right, well, Amos's new buddy isn't around. Is everybody else had somebody to pal around with, but yeah, I mean, Avasarella was right. That was what was there was the thing that Marco did not want, and that was unity, harmony, peace, contentment. And he made sure that shit didn't last for long, did he? Yeah, man. So it was interesting to see um, that. Honestly speaking, like when that was happening, I thought that was the end of the episode. I wasn't keeping I wasn't keeping track of like how long the episode had been. It was like, okay, we just had the thing with Alex happen. They're here now. All right, well, I guess we'll pick up on Marco at the beginning of next season or whatever. So like once once we get the little bit of the break before it shifts back, it was like, oh, okay, this is nice. After everything that they've been through, they could use a nice little respite. Something to be able to kick back and take a breather. Yeah, your namesake made sure that shit didn't last long, huh?
One
He's
of
not going to
my
let you live that down, man. He's just going to bring that up every time now.
see that's I first noticed when I started reading the books. I was like, really, you have to name him Marco? Anyway, one of my favorite lines too is when Holden's like, "Oh, you have a long." List of debriefing in front of you, and they was like, "Oh, the last thing I want to do is to talk about Marco all the time." This is something I'm not looking forward to. Now, Don, you mentioned that you thought maybe this was the end because you weren't keeping track of like how long the episode. I kept pausing it to see the little time thing to see how much time was left because I'm like, there needs to be enough time to take care of this Martian shit because this is what I've been waiting for all season. And I've been having to be tight-lipped about this, try to walk around kind of this. And I actually wish that they would have gotten to this earlier. Like they actually did get into this a bit earlier in the books, but they saved it all for this final scene. Where we see Marco take over the ring gates. And goddamn, this was another amazing battle scene too. I don't even know if you could call it a battle because it was more like a slaughter. Like those, I love how they name dropped this earlier in the season where Avasarala was like, "Oh, there's no way Marco can take the ring gate. We have 3 ships there protecting it." Those 3 ships gone instantly. Like they're firing those micro asteroids at them, and then like a huge fleet of those Martian ships, including the one that Bobby and Alex were tracking earlier this season, where you get the Admiral Salvatore asshole guy. And then you learn basically that this is how Marco won. This is how Marco did as well as he did because he was helped by, I want to say it's like a third of the Martian military. It's a huge, sizable portion. It's nothing to balk at. I can't remember if the books mentioned the exact portion, maybe someone in the chat knows, but it's a sizable portion of the Martian military are now defectors, and because they had a plan they discovered a world along the ring gate that had these alien structures, which they worked out were shipyards, alien shipyards. And so they came up with a plan. They came up with a plan to steal the protomolecule, and it's the scientist who knows the most about it, and use them to build an empire on this planet so they can play with their alien technology. And also we see the kind of authoritarian society this will be with the interactions between the admirals. Like, oh, that bracelet's not uniform. We're gonna, if you disobey the slightest thing, we're gonna have to shoot you in the head. Like, and so yeah, and so basically they propped up Marco, and they wanted the chaos to happen so they could use it as an excuse to escape and set up their empire. And I like how Marco says, he's very telling, the line where he's talking to him. He says, you have your system and I have mine. And as far as they're concerned, he doesn't give a fuck if Marco wipes out all of humanity. If they die from resources, they don't give a fuck what happens to the solar system. They have their society that they're going to set up, that they've been planning for in years. And I do like how Bobby wasn't able to uncover this. It is because I knew to look for it. Like the admiral who ran the whole thing, apparently his name is Duarte. They do name drop him in this episode. He's a major character in future books. Because I need to look for it, they name dropped them in season 4, like in text. And I had to sort of something I had to pause and look at it. Like when Bobby was looking at all of the military men involved with the conspiracy, at the top corner of each and every one of them, it says they worked for Admiral Duarte. So I love that attention to detail, that they were setting this up from the get-go. And that's why I'm convinced they will do books 7, 8, and 9 in some form, because they have to, because this whole scene is setting up for it. But anyway. And yeah, so there's also the ship. Once it enters the ring gate, it's destroyed molecule by molecule, which is another thing which we actually will deal with more next season. Hopefully, I think so. Anyway, yeah, Darrin, what are some thoughts on this whole ending sequence?
Yeah, it's one of those things where, again, looking back, you could see how they told you exactly where Marco was going for the past 4 episodes or 5 episodes. In the beginning, you keep seeing Marcos's group of ships, and first one, it's in the belt. And the next episode, it's past Jupiter. The next one, it's past Saturn. The next one, it's deep space, and then it's Uranus. It's, they're telling you where they're going as their group is growing. And even the shots of the gate at the end of the opening are losing ships as all the Earth ships and Mars ships are going away to fight amongst the rest of the belt until there's only the 3 left at the end that they're able to attack. So, I mean, it's one of those cool things where they've been telling you the whole time where things are going and what is happening, but you don't know it until the end where you're able to piece it all together. And yeah, this was great. I even went back and listened to Admiral Silverturn's speech that Alex caught at the Martian school academy, and he's basically saying, like, hey, we've got to take these big risks. It's the only way to go forward. And it's almost his goodbye speech, like, good luck, remember all these things, I'm out of here. So it's always love great writing where you get all of these hints that are dropped ahead of time that totally makes sense once you see the full picture. I'm really excited to see what's going to happen with this whole, fascist Martian regime, or, whatever absolutist government military structure they're going to set up. They've definitely mined their other side of the gate. So, this and again, it does feel like this is your, book 7, 8, 9 setup, because obviously we still have to deal with Marco and the Sol system, and that's going to take the majority of whatever the next season is. This is the bits that will be coming forward, later on down the road, the seedlings that will pay off in lovely entertainment fruit down the road. So I do like how they set it up. I do like how it shows that Marco, while he's so enamored with what he has been able to do, the fact that there is a smarter, more resourceful being behind him, basically using him and allowing his ambition to go, yeah, man, do it. I'll back you up and sell you these things. Just get me my proto molecule. Because, of course, that's not going to end badly. And yeah, the end with the ship disappearing, that was awesome. Holden has talked about, I think even at the beginning of this season, how when he crosses the ring gates, he glimpses for just a moment something watching, something there, and now it's awake. And obviously this is their first move to understand humanity and what the next battle is going to be. So yeah, beautiful setup for what's to come. I'm already like, and season 6 is when? Want it now.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to wait some time for it, which, oh my god, definitely not looking forward to that. But yeah, no, I didn't notice that foreshadowing. That's very interesting. I did notice like there were some scenes like whenever Marco was in his command center, he was looking at like diagrams of the ring gates and a bunch of Martian ships. So they were dropping hints there, and I do like how they never outright, in the past 3 episodes, they never outright tell you where Marco is. Like they show him and fill up on the ship, but they never make it clear exactly. But anyway, John, what did you make of all this?
So yeah, obviously, like I said, this was Marco literally raining on everyone's parade. Came through, destroyed the ships. You find out that the Martians, or at least a faction of the Martians, are definitely a bunch of treacherous bastards. And yeah, to find out that there's an even bigger villain behind all of this shit now. It's like, oh, come on, man. Come on. Marco Inaros wasn't enough. There's a bigger asshole out there. It was already bad enough, a few seasons ago when it was Jules Pierre Mao, right? And now we got somebody else who, it's like after he went down, it became Marco Inaros, and now to find out there's somebody even worse than him, because it's like, oh yeah, they're fucking around with alien technology after we just had this this whole thing, because no one wants to listen to James Holden and the Rossi crew. James Holden is like, hey, you guys need to stop fucking around with this proto-molecule and destroy everything. And yeah, you might not want to go through those ring gates either, because I came across some wild shit there. And I don't think that whatever's beyond those gates that destroy the people who built the proto-molecule technology, yeah, I don't think those people are friendly at all. It's like, the fuck do you know, Mr. Savior of everything? Fuck you. Yeah, we don't care about your haircut and your abs, all right, bro? Yeah, so I mean, here we go again. And it's funny because I'm trying to remember, was LV a Martian or no? You're on mute.
Yeah, 1 second. No, she was from Earth.
Okay, no, because I was saying maybe she could have been the extra Martian on the crew or whatever. But exactly
for the version I'll take. Come on. Like, I was going to say this before. I thought it was obvious. Bobby Draper. Bobby Draper. Anyway.
Well, yeah, obviously Bobby. But in case they didn't want to put Bobby on there, I was like, if LV was a Martian, she could have been on there too. But yeah, man, it was just one of those things where it's like, oh my God, why must you people be such fucking assholes? And then this dude with the, oh yes, everything must be pure Martian Nazis. Like you can't have anything. Nothing must besmirch the uniform because now we are the new space Nazis here, or I don't know what the fuck are they supposed to be. I mean, yeah, this is a keepsake. Bitch, take that shit the fuck off. No, you can't have anything that is not regulation uniform.
You know what besmirches the uniform?
Like, oh,
disintegration.
God,
Yeah.
yeah.
All right,
Oh
so
my God.
I want to point out Sentient in the chat, and I want to say this with the proper accent. Sentient in the chat says, Don is just a salty earther. Anyway.
Whatever. Listen, I can be a salty earth. The point is, I'm not some fucking skinny, long bone fuck who's trying to destroy shit because you don't have anything for an economy anymore.
I love what the space people in the chat says. They're the Martian Proud Boys.
Yeah, So I mean, look, and at the end of the day, they pay the price for their hubris. Or at least that particular ship did. I mean,
Well,
I know we're gonna get there. I know. We're not there yet, but still, fuck Marco, and fuck all of the people chanting his name. And,
oh yeah, Marco and Aros.
Yeah, and fuck all those the Martian traders, who basically are fucking dooming humanity because I want to mess around with the bug lights. I want to mess around with the fucking space the space boards and the fucking space fireflies and shit. Yeah, genius. Genius. It was broadcast throughout the whole system what Eros did and before it became the fucking ring. But yeah, no, yeah. Oh yeah, this is perfect. What the savior of all humanity said that there's some fucking hostile alien species that wiped out the people that built this shit, and they're probably gonna come and try to wipe us out too. Who cares? Fuck it. Let's go fucking around in their neighborhoods. Yeah, because that always turns out well.
Yeah.
Fuck them all.
Yeah, Alex 409 in the chat correctly points out that Marco and Duarte are part of the largest genocide in history.
Yeah, that's why I fuck them all.
And I'm sure everyone got this, but just to be clear, like that, there was just the one ship that disintegrated. Most of the ships made it through, and they're setting up their colony on Laconia, who will now be known as Laconians. Laconia, where everyone wears a polo. Oh my gosh. Anyway, yeah, that was pretty devastating. I mean, I think this is kind of setting up for book 7, 8, and 9. I don't know if they're ever actually going to do them. I think they must. But you do need to have this anyway, even if they do never do them, to explain why Marco was able to do what he did. It's really integral to what's going on this season and what will go on next season. It explains how Marco got so much power. And there was also the thing with Monica Stewart pointing out at the party that she's realizing that one of the missiles didn't go towards the Resnant, they went away from them. So is it possible? I like how she's like, is it possible at the proto-molecule? And then Holden would like wanted to say no, but Naomi's just cut him off. It's like, yes, it's possible because she knows Marco. She knows it's and plus, as we see, like he would have been totally fucked if that proto-molecule sample was destroyed. So he would have a contingency on top of a contingency for everything.
Yeah. Well, it also just shows the nice thing about that is they don't mess around. You know, it's not like, oh, we're going to hedge bets or anything. Yeah, no, it's a lot of straight answers. And I like that with Naomi just saying, yes, of course it's possible. That's how this family works, is they are straight and honest with each other, and then they deal with the consequences after that.
Absolutely. Anyway, go ahead and wrap things up. I want to thank everyone who joined us in the chat. Sinjin, Alex, Colonel Doomsday, the Space People, a few others. Alana, listen, Rob were in here earlier. Everyone, thanks so much for joining, and everyone who's watching this in archives, thank you so much. And of course, Don and Darren, thanks both of you for joining. And hopefully you shall, as well as Alyssa, shall join me once again next week to do a season wrap-up of Season 5 of The Expanse, where we talk about the whole kit and caboodle at once. So be sure to join us for one last stream on Season 5 next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. Anyway, want to thank Don and Darren. Darren, do you want to give a shout-out to what you're up to and where people can find you?
Sure. Thanks so much, Mark. Yeah, can't wait to have a big season discussion about everything. But in a couple weeks, we're going to be diving into Season 3 of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. over on my channel. Be joined by this guy right down here. And also Rob, who is in the chat from Smirking Gun Reviews, and Corey from Biblical Bliss will be joining us, as always, with our big Season 3 discussion. And then we'll have Agent Carter Season 2 next month. And then, hey, we'll get to be talking about Bull himself, Jose Zuniga, who returns with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 4 playing Uncle Eli in our big, the big Ghost Rider arc in that season. So really excited about things coming forward. Catch me out on Dee's Reviews. That name is right here in the chat. And I'll turn it over to the guy down below us, Mr. Don Willi.
Thank you, good sir. Thank you. Yes. Look, glad to be here as always. Can't wait to be here next week to discuss the full season and those filthy belters. Yeah, and listen, you can catch me on Twitter at iDonWilli, IDONWILLI, and eventually, House of the Dragon stuff on my channel, Adon of Ice and Fire. And like this guy up here said, Season 3, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. If you guys haven't been watching or haven't watched Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., what the hell were you doing with your lives? I thought you said you love the MCU. All right. And hopefully at some point we will discuss WandaVision, because that is kind of crazy. But anyway, I will turn it back over to the man of the hour, Marco Natanaros. Thank God.
All right, so I prefer to go by Mark. So my name's Mark. Channel is Enchantment of Eternity, and I shall not quite finished. I'm not done with The Expanse Season 5, not for a long shot, because next week I'll be doing my full-length review on it. Then, as I mentioned, I'll be joined by these guys to do another live discussion, and then for the next several months I'll be doing my book-to-show comparisons for each episode of Season 5 for those who are interested in how it compares to the books, even if you haven't read the books, because there's no future spoilers here, just talking about Season 5 itself. See how it wraps up. How was it adapted? Spoiler alert, it was adapted quite well. Anyway, So, also I cover many other shows such as Star Trek and Breaking Bad and The Outer Limits. So be sure to check out my channel for all that. I'll see you guys back here next week. See you next time.
Fucking long bones.
Oh.
Stop